I wanted to give a brief update on what's going on with me and what we will call the trust experiment, or what I'm calling the trust experiment. So it's those of you who've been keeping up with the videos that I've put out. I think this is the video number 8 regarding the trust experiment and the issue with the coming paralysis. And so as I've been just trusting more and more, in the last few days I noticed that my body is like basically rejecting most food. I eat equivalent of about 1/4, maybe 1/5 of what I would normally eat. And it seems that my body's becoming very, very particular about what to eat, and it's narrowing, it's cutting out almost everything. And so right now I'm down to just a very, very few things that my body will eat. And most things, just looking at it or smelling, my body will reject. And so that's been going on for the last few days. I feel fine in terms of energy. Actually, I feel I have more energy now. I feel wonderful inside. I've never felt happier or more whole would be a great way of saying it. And that's not as a result of the dietary change. That's just been the last few days. But since this whole trust experiment began, maybe a month and a half ago, it's just more and more so the case of this embodied wholeness. Now, if I were to describe, so I would have probably described a feeling of bodily wholeness, not bodily, I don't know, spiritual wholeness. I don't know. It's hard to explain what I'm saying because it's in the body, but I don't mean exactly my muscles. It's like the inner space. I would have described as being whole before. It's just much more filled out or whole or full or vibrant or something like that. It's hard to put the right words to it. Although my body is in physical pain and of course limitations of movement. Now, as my body has rejected more and more foods and is kind of whittling down to just one or two things, the pain has diminished. My range of motion has increased still further. The last time I talked about range of motion, I couldn't really look up or look down. It was very limited range of motion. I could look side to side, but I couldn't do this, for example. I couldn't do that, for example. And so, but now I can. And so it seems that my body is in fact leading me in the right direction, even if the direction it's leading me in is not as pleasant for the palate, and pretty much makes going out to restaurants or anything like that not possible. That said, I hardly go to restaurants anyway. We live in the mountains and just rarely go out. I have a very fulfilling life here in nature and interacting with students and teaching the meditations and things like that. So it's not a loss as far as I'm concerned, aside from simply not being able to enjoy some of the foods that maybe my wife would enjoy, having to cook essentially separately and all of that. And the fact that I seem to be eating just one meal a day or possibly two, and they're just a few bites of food. So aside from that, it feels like it's going in a very well, I don't seem to have a choice in the matter, in that my body is just actually not willing to eat really anything but just a few things. And so that's actually, it's simplified things quite a bit, and also allowed my body maybe to have much less of be in less pain and have an increased range of motion. And that would create the appearance as if my body is recovering or healing. Again, I'm going into the trust experiment. I'm doing this process is unfolding. It's not even me doing. This is just happening in a sense. And so it's not like I would describe what I'm doing as a choice at this matter. at this moment. It's just something that's sort of unfolding. And I needed to look at and need to continue to look at all the areas of fear that we as humans have. That has not diminished. And but it, although I have no thought about what the outcome of this will be in terms of like what it should be, like should I be paralyzed or should I not be paralyzed? Should I be recover? Should I get sick? Should I whatever? That's not my aim. It's not much of interest, but objectively speaking, I guess you could say, based off of the fact that my range of motion has increased, it would seem as if paralysis may not be the end result of this. But again, my mindset is, and again, even this is not a choice, it's just what my body's doing and kind of what feels right. And even beyond what feels right, it's happening, is a complete look, a complete turn into all of the possible fears of the individual as well as humanity, in its very subtle detail, under pressure, during pain. And that has been an incredible blessing. And I've seen in the last month, I've seen so much that it's going to take me some time just to find the words to explain, because a lot of what I've become much more aware of is subtle, in terms of the realms of consciousness, and the nature of mind. And so from this, I've probably during this last month come up with, like, my body would just do this. It would just come up, like grab a paper and a pen on its own and just write book titles, and subtitles and things like that. So that gives me an idea that something in the body is percolating, and in its attempt to express what is being perceived. And maybe at some point in a relatively near future, I'll list out some of those potential book titles, and have you all vote on what you'd like to see written. So that might be fun. And of course, as we end this video, I invite you to your own trust experiment, which means start to trust in what feels meaningful and engaging to you in an embodied way, and the subtle messages that your body gives you about how to spend your time and your day. And with that, thank you so much.